Hey, welcome back to edtech. Today I am going to show you how to do ParseFloat. ParseFloat method or ParseFloat function on JavaScript. Okay, so let's see how it goes. But before I start and proceed, I would like to tell you the definition. So basically, ParseFloat is a method by which, or a function by which, out of a string, this method will return a floating point number from a string. And if you already know in arithmetic, floating point number is a number which has decimals, right? So let's see how it goes. Let's say var x equals is a string, and here you want to ParseFloat variable and variable x. Using variable x, I want to ParseFloat a string. So equals ParseFloat a string, let's say 57.789. Right, this is a string because the number is within the open inverted column. It's like a string format. Okay, so document.write x. Let's see the result. There you go. You got the floating number, that is a decimal. This is a decimal number, 57.789. It's no more a string. So the string is by ParseFloating, the string is returning a decimal number or a floating point number. That's why it's called ParseFloat. It parses the string. Let's say there's a white space and there are several other numbers in the string. Right? So now if you parse it, you will notice that out of a string, in a string, when there are several such decimal numbers, or rather several such numbers existing inside the string, so these are all string elements, then only the first, it will only return, like by parsing the string, it will only return the very first floating point number, the first decimal, in other words. So here the first decimal is 57.789. The rest of the decimals are not returned. It's always like this. Even if you put a comma, it's still the same. Whether comma or white space, it works the same as you will see here. It will return only the very first floating point number, right? Or the first decimal. And let's say if instead of this, let's say the very first place is occupied by, let's say, a word, then see what happens. It will give a nan, that is not a number. Why? Because this method will only parse numbers in the string or decimals. It will not parse letters. Like here you have letters as characters or words. So in other words, ear, the word ear is actually a non-number. So it will not parse non-numbers. In case if it is there, it will return your NaN. Keep that in mind. Okay, so this is the rule of ParseFloat method, whereby by parsing the string, it will return the numbers, and when there are lots of numbers, the first one will be returned, and if the first one happens to be a non-number, then it will return NaN. But instead of ear being here, let's say the ear is present here. Let's see what happens. It doesn't make a difference. So when the non-number is only present in the first instant, then only it returns NaN. because it only parses the first one. But in this case, since it is at the last end of the string, it doesn't make a difference because it doesn't parse it anyways. Because while parsing, as I mentioned earlier, when there are group of numbers or decimals, it will only parse the first number, as in here. And if the first number happens to be a non-number, then it will return NaN. So this is the rule of ParseFloat. I hope you understood. And if there's anything more suggestions or anything else you want to ask, please mention it in the comment and let me know if you find this interesting. See you in the next lesson. Until then, if you're not yet subscribed, do remember to subscribe. And do remember to press the bell button to get notifications whenever I publish more such lessons. See you in the next lesson. Bye. Ciao.